Ilhan Omar making the pilgrimage to Columbia University. Again, all of them are filtering through. You've had Chuck Schumer there. You've had Mike Johnson there. And of course, AOC went. She's siding with the protesters. Surprise, surprise. And then Ilhan Omar. And what she said, frankly, is pretty reprehensible. Listen.
I think this will translate to the Jewish students who are facing anti-Semitism here on campus.
So I actually met a lot of Jewish students that are in the encampment, and I think it is really unfortunate that people don't care about the fact that all Jewish kids should be kept safe and that we should not have to tolerate anti-Semitism or bigotry for all Jewish students, whether they are pro-genocide or anti-genocide. Daniel.
Okay, you heard that? Whether they are pro-genocide or anti-genocide. Unbelievable. Even members of her own party today calling her out. Representative Aguilar pointing out, that's not how I would say it. No, that's frankly how no member of Congress that believes in the United States of America, and I know sometimes we have our doubts about her, should ever talk about it. Let's go to Representative Aguilar.
It's not the language I would have chosen. It's not something I would have said. And as I mentioned previously, I think we all have an obligation to turn the temperature down, especially when we're in those positions where people are listening to us, and when we're speaking to people who feel passionate about issues. We do that in our own offices. We do that in our districts, every week. Every month. That's important, but it's not language I would use.
No, not language I would use. I mean, you have a responsibility to kind of get the temperature in a better place, and yet she's doing exactly the opposite. She's actually utilizing this as an opportunity. For what, I ask? For what? I mean, I actually think, once again, this helps Donald Trump, because Americans don't like what they see. They don't like the chaos, the threat of violence. They want some law and order. Yeah, I said the words. They want law and order. They want to know if they spent $70,000 for their child to go to school on campus, that they're actually going to be able to attend the classes. Representative Ted Lieu coming out against the students, against the protesters. Again, another Democrat saying it's never okay to go out and break windows. He's right.
You have the absolute right to free speech in America. You can protest, but the First Amendment does not give you the right to break windows, to vandalize buildings, to take over private buildings, and to make students who happen to be of Jewish descent feel unsafe. Those things are not protected by the First Amendment. And so the folks who are protesting need to understand that line. And when they cross that line, then universities have every right to take action against those students.
Yeah, he's absolutely right. So we're waiting. Apparently, Columbia is trying to negotiate with these students. I don't know how you negotiate with them. I mean, this is like Obama and the Red Line in Syria all over again, right? I mean, I don't want to quite make that kind of a contrast, but in terms of negotiating skills, let's face it, the woman, originally from Egypt, moved here when she was 5 years old, educated in Western universities, an economist. She is in way over her head, like way over her skis. For whatever reason, she's not making the right decisions here. And I'm just seeing if I can get you any kind of update right now. Of course, we learned that some of the students at Princeton have actually been expelled. And that's not actually the case. I mean, Princeton being very sort of forthright in what they said. You heard Rob talking about it earlier, but as a Princeton grad, I think he's proud to see that there's actually been some sort of follow through. The Princeton community was addressed here in this post by the university president, who wrote that the 6 students, actually 5 undergrads and 6 graduate students, 1 postdoctoral researcher and 1 person not affiliated with the university, was caught in an incident, and 13 people were arrested. Those that were arrested are now looking at possible suspension and expulsion. I mean, that's how you deal with it. And for whatever reason, Colombia is not able to follow through, which is just amazing, amazing. Look, this is going to have serious consequences. I mean, it's like 1968 all over again. What we're going to go into the DNC meetings this summer, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see a whole lot more. I mean, this is like a practice drill. This is practice run. They get the tent cities out there. They're chanting all of this stuff, and it's taking on a life of its own, which, while we all believe in freedom of speech, believe me, there's no one who's more passionate about that than me. You cross a line when you're starting to intimidate everybody else who doesn't look like you or is not as angry as you. And you're crossing a line when you start breaking those windows, as they did at Columbia last night. No excuses for this.